Welcome to the Small Business Heroes podcast, where small business owners tell their story so we can learn from their experience. My name is Tony Radford. I hope you enjoy this episode. And on today's show, I've got a very special guest all the way from Malta, Angele Giuliano from acrosslimits.com. Angele, how are you?
Hello, Tony. I'm very well, thank you. And I'm really happy to be here with you and with your audience.
Okay, well, I'm sat in rainy England. How's the weather there in Malta?
It's really, really hot. It's about 35 and of course sunny and windy. Being a small island, Malta, we always get all the winds from all over the place. So at least there's a breeze, but it's still very hot.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Well, I envy you the sun because I love the sun these days. But Angele, can you tell us about Across Limits?
Sure. So Across Limits, we started it in 2001. So actually on the 12th of June this year, it had its birthday. It's 19 years old. So it's quite a mature company, by no means a startup. And I think like all companies, and it went through various iterations, pivoting, realignments, and whatever. But something which remained at our core is actually doing IT innovation in the areas of health and education. Now, of course, these are not areas where, it's easy to sell. And therefore, from the very beginning, we had to be innovative and find ways of how to fund all the crazy ideas that we wanted to do, all the different types of software. And one of the best ways we found was actually using international grants and European grants in order to fund the prototyping of some of the software, which then some of them made it to market, and some of them, of course, maybe wasn't good enough, remained at proof of concept. Through that experience, we learned a lot about how to move around in Europe. And, being in Malta, people tend to remember you when you go to Brussels or to other countries, the Maltese company. We were quite unique back then. Remember that Malta joined the EU in 2004, so we were quite ahead of the curve there. And basically, we learned ourselves how to move around in Europe, not just when it comes to funding, but also when it comes to like the networking, the tendering, the different business opportunities. And therefore, by time, we developed like a consultancy branch of the company, where we actually help other people to access the European opportunities and see it as a much bigger picture. Because people have, unfortunately, this very, small opinion of the opportunities out there. And in fact, I can say from my experience that even for a small company from Malta, it helped us to launch us in the international markets. And nowadays, in fact, we are 90% export. So we do only 10% of our work in Malta. We still live here. So I have about 10 employees here and 15 of them then as contract workers abroad. And we also have a set of experts where we scale up and down according to the tenders and the projects that we have. But we're still very much tied to this area of innovation in IT, in education or health.
Right, great. That's a great answer. Thank you very much. So you are, you're involved in many things and with many people in many countries, basically. That's very good. What would be one of your biggest challenges as a business?
Well, I think because most of the projects we do are long-term, one of our like Achilles heel was always cash flow. Because, as you know, profitability is great, but if you don't have the cash to make it till the end of the year, you're dead in the water. So over there, I think that was always the real challenge for us. So we've had to sometimes survive with overdrafts with the bank and then, interest rates and whatever. I think that was always really our biggest problem because our projects tend to be 2 to 3 years. Sometimes they are reimbursements. So even if they are tenders, so you are making profits, but still there are milestones, and unless you reach the milestone, you do not get paid from the client. And therefore you have to advance a lot of things yourself. So you can imagine that was, and still is in a way, our biggest challenge, which is cash flow.
So presumably you've become an expert in juggling budgets, have you, and cash flow over the years?
We have, and the way we found it is you need to have two sources of revenue, one which is long term and one which is a little bit short term. So in fact, for the short term, what we did was we've opened also training. And nowadays we also do, also because of COVID, even more online training on the topics which we understand best, like again, innovation, robotics, IT. And that gives us like little help, money coming in, which is not big. It's not like the tenders where you get, I don't know, 100K to 100K tender. But it helps the cash flow until you wait for the big amount to hit your bank account.
Right. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. Thank you. So thinking about being in business, and you said you recently were 19 years old. I mean, looking back, what is one thing you wish someone had told you when you started out?
Well, for sure, how difficult it would be to have business partners. I think that is something that I think everybody eventually learns with their own experiences, good and bad. So originally we started as 4 partners, then 2 bought 2, and finally I bought the last one. So now I'm 100% owner, which is tougher in many ways, but simpler in many others. So, you know, I don't have to convince 3 other people when I want to do something, good or bad, because, you know, I'm not perfect. Of course I make mistakes. So, and that is sort of, you know, maybe somewhat hindsight 2020 sort of. Yeah, although at the beginning I understand that, you know, 19 years ago I was much younger, of course, didn't have the confidence. So in fact, 2 of the original business partners were like more experienced entrepreneurs, and I think I needed that to start. So maybe on my own I wouldn't have started. So you know, it's not good and bad, but definitely had someone told me, you know, this is gonna be tough on this point.
Right. And were your partners all Maltese, or were they from other countries?
At the time, they were all Maltese, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they were all Maltese, 3 guys. So, you know, even that, not that I can't keep my own with 3 guys, but definitely the Mediterranean dynamics also go into it. You can imagine that, you know, sometimes everything's fine, and sometimes like, ta-da! Everybody's like, you know, stressing. So.
Yeah. Cool, great. So, you know, what's the next step for your business?
Well, at the moment, we have been steadily trying to grow the value of the business. So basically 19 years, we're a mature company. I do not want to work until I am 75. So I am going to, at a point in time, go for an exit. And the idea we are thinking of doing that is eventually by either merging with a larger consultancy that is maybe missing this angle of EU or innovation, or else being outright acquired, because I mean, we have a good name with the EU, people know us in the circles, they trust us. So we are like a boutique consultancy. And therefore, at the moment, this is what I'm doing. I am actually also getting help from mentors and from other experienced people who have done M&A, mergers and acquisitions, before. I'm learning, I'm always learning something. And you know, that is kind of what's next for the company, growing but sustainable towards merging or being acquired.
Right, that's really good. I wish you good luck with all of that process. A quick one: if somebody gave you 500 pounds or 500 euros, they're more or less the same thing now. If somebody gave you cuts. Next question: if somebody gave you 500 pounds to spend on marketing, how would you spend it?
Well, like I told you, at the moment, we're pushing a lot of our online training. So I think I would invest it in really pushing one of our courses. And at the moment, people are more at home. Hopefully, they have a little bit more time on their hands. Maybe they're thinking of changing also their job. And because we actually have the status as an EU recognized training center, our certificates are actually sort of valid like a further and higher educational establishment. So they are, I don't know if you understand when I say ECTS, the European Credit Transfer System. So like when you go at university and you take credits, they are worth a certain number of credits. So our courses can be used for that, for professional development. And therefore, I think I would just pick one of them and, try to push one of those courses.
Right. No, that's good. Great. You mentioned before that you had partners and they were sort of more experienced than you were when you first started out. I mean, do you have a business mentor or something like that?
I've always had mentors at different stages of my growth and development. But again, sometimes it's like having a personal relationship. So you need to find a mentor which can understand you and which you can have a conversation. Definitely now that I am alone, in the sense, not alone in business, but alone as a shareholder, I need a mentor sometimes just to bounce ideas off and to tell them, I'm thinking of doing this. Does this make sense? And especially now with my sort of vision of growing, making the company, bigger, more sexy, better value, I need someone who's been through that already. And therefore, this is at the moment the type of mentor that I have. So yeah, no, I totally believe in mentors. And today, I try to pay it forward. I also mentor the next generation, especially of women entrepreneurs. So I'm very much involved in female entrepreneurship here in Malta and in Europe. And I try to give my time when I can to help other ladies, start up in business.
Oh, great. That's really, really good. Well done. And final question, can you give us one actionable sales tip?
Well, I think smile. Because, whether we are on the phone, whether we are like this on video, and especially if you are in person, when you smile, people are more kind of automatically open to listen to you. And therefore, there's maybe more chance of you selling them something. Whereas, if you're a grumpy, ugly, whatever salesperson, I don't think that's going to work too well.
Great. Thank you very much. That's a unique suggestion, by the way. I don't think anybody else.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Angele, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much. Now, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, they can send me an email. It's Angele, Angele, @acrosslimits.com. Or else find me on LinkedIn. Thankfully, there's no one else with my name. So you can find me there and just connect and we can have a chat and maybe there's a win-win relationship in the making.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Angele. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Thanks, Tony.
Part of the secret to achieving true success in business is in focusing on the specific things that result in sales and revenue generation. If you are a small business owner or freelancer and you would like to break through overwhelm, gain focus and grow your business, visit myproactivebusiness.com.